Now, the Namibia Revenue Agency, NamRA, in line with the law, destroyed counterfeit items valued at over 5 million Namibia dollars. The goods were confiscated following their illegal importation into the country. Joining us in studio this evening to give us more details on the matter is the Commissioner at NamRA, Mr. Sam Shivute. Sir, good evening and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, Nina. Good evening, Namibia. Thank you for inviting us to the studio.
Thank you. Just to start with, perhaps you can talk to us about, what the mandate of NamRA is.
Yeah, thank you very much, Nina. Context is very important. Context matter. First, before the mandate, we have a vision. Our vision is really to become a world-class revenue agency, serving with passion to positively impact the livelihood of every Namibian. And our mandate, apart from assessing and correcting taxes and duty for the state, one of our mandate, especially from the customs and excise perspective, is to protect society and also to facilitate legitimate trade. So we have the responsibility of ensuring that each goods that is being imported in Namibia or exported is cleared, and it must be in accordance with the law.
Let's talk about, or perhaps you can give us a brief background of, this counterfeit goods that we've been seeing the videos circulating in the media, of these goods that were confiscated and destroyed, and also talk to us about whom these goods belong to.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, the goods that we are talking about, this is the work, not only the work that is done by Namibia Revenue Agency, which was launched last year's April, but it's a continuation of great work that has been done by Namibia Custom and Excise Directorate starting 2015. Now, within the Custom and Excise Act, the law is very clear that the importation of illegal good or counterfeit good or any goods that infringe a specific copyright, it's not allowed in Namibia. Now, Namibia, we are also, as a country, we are a party to the World Trade Organization agreement called TRIPS, Trade-Related Aspects of Intellectual Property. Now, that international instrument, there is an obligation for Namibia as a country to say that there is, when there are counterfeit goods, should not be allowed to enter. And when it enters, there are also international procedures that need to be followed for one to be able to seize those goods. Now, when goods are seized, now we have Section 100 of the Custom and Excise Act, number 20 of 1998. It then provides the power to the commissioner as to how the seized goods should be disposed. Now, there are two ways of disposing those goods. Now, one of the way of disposing those goods, because once the goods are seized and legally it gets forfeited to the state, there are only two options of dealing with those goods. One, the goods can be sold at an open auction. Okay. Secondly, if it's an illegal goods, then it must be destroyed. Now, that's why I say context matter, and it's important for the Namibian people to hear that part of the goods that we are talking about that has been seized by those operations that had been happening since 2015. You're talking about some of the goods, not the one that was destroyed on the 10th of May, but you're talking about fake alcohol. You're talking about fake medication. You're talking about things that infringe other brand holders' intellectual property rights and so on. Now, we need to ask ourselves that now here you have the revenue agency that is empowered to implement the law, and the law have to be implemented the way it's supposed to be. For example, now you have these illegal goods. They are in the state warehouse, and we are paying rent on a monthly basis for those things which it have to be destroyed because the law say destroy it. If it was,
let me just interject there for the sake of time, Mr. Shivute. When and how did NamRA or law enforcement determine or test to see that these goods are indeed fake or counterfeit?
Okay, this is what happened. Normally, when we carry out this operation, again, like I say, we are a member of the World Customs Organization and also Interpol. These operations are organized collectively together with Interpol and World Customs Organization. When it then happens is that when that operation take place, like we have Operation Biela, we have Operation Akim, we have Operation Mirage, we have Operation Hokanam. When those operations take place then, You have then stakeholders like your Namibian police. Sometimes you have then the right holders, then you have customs and excise officials. You then target specific containers. Let's say you target containers at the port of entry. It can be at the airport.
Based on the destination they're coming from?
Well, sometimes based on the destination, but also we work with intelligence. We have an intelligence network that we use. We're getting intelligence and so on. So, but sometimes you also have customs official, sometimes working with the police doing operations. Now, when they then get a specific container or a specific business and there are things, goods that are suspected to be counterfeit. Now, and this is a trick, and this is what the Namibian people need to understand as well. It's not for us as customs official to go into someone's business and only decide, oh, this is a counterfeit, because we need to distinguish between counterfeited goods and cheap products. Now, counterfeited goods, now the World Trade Organization under TRIPS, that Trade-Related Intellectual Property Agreement, which Namibia, we are party to that. It clearly provides specific guidelines and principles that need to be followed. For example, before one would declare that this is a counterfeit medication or this is a counterfeited goods, the right holders, they need to be contacted and they need to give an affidavit, and also the person from whom the goods are seized is also given an opportunity to contest or to indicate the authenticity of those goods and so on. Only after we have really scientifically and having evidence, prima facie evidence that this is counterfeited good, then we then move to the next stage whereby the goods are then officially seized. But when you seize it, then again they said the way to dispose, the methods to dispose those goods is very limited. There are also some goods that we seize which are illegally imported, but they are not counterfeited. Like sometimes we seize books or maybe wheelchair. Like last year we donated a number of wheelchairs to the regional governor of Erongo. February I was in the south where some books we donated to the regional governor of Karas, for example. So some of illegal imported goods or that were under-declared, those we can donate it. It can be donated or it can be sold. But if it's illegal, again, and this is why I want to appeal to the conscience of many Namibians.
Before you do that, you mentioned earlier that the Customs and Excise Law or Act says that goods that are coming into the country that are counterfeit or fake is prohibited. We know that within Namibia we've got what we call Chinatown. And a lot of Namibians have this concern that at Chinatown, they go there to buy counterfeit and fake products. How does this law make provision for this to be able to take place?
Okay, maybe let me respond as follows. That's why even many people who are expressing their view and inciting the people, the first question I wanted to ask is that the majority of the goods that make up that 5 million products, from where were they seized? I just want to pack that one question. And I'm asking this question to the Namibian, and people need to be truthful because truth matter, context matter. The majority of those goods that we are talking about, from where were they confiscated or seized? However, how we operate, from the tax administration perspective, we do not allow anyone to force us into a corner to speak about a specific grouping or tribe and so on. We talk about traders or taxpayers who are not compliant. But I would be able to tell you as well that some of the goods that were destroyed, for example, on the 10th, especially the cell phone accessories, fake iPhone covers and batteries and so on, were seized from shops along Independence Avenue and so on. Now, from where we operate, we do not disclose the people that we deal with, also the clients or taxpayer or trader that we deal with. We do not come there and say that we took this from Nina, but we have our record because we do not want to tribalize or to put a race or a specific grouping to non-compliant. That is the context within which we operate. But the good news, again, as I'm saying, those who, the goods that may have been seized from the Namibians is not even making up 10% of that. But we will do our work without fear or favor, approaching from the concept of non-compliant. But again, as I said, we need to distinguish.
But the question still remains, why are goods that are counterfeit and that are fake, that are sold
Yeah.
without mentioning race,
Yes.
as you mentioned, in the northern industrial parts of Windhoek
Okay.
at certain shops,
Yeah.
not confiscated or destroyed.
Okay, again, part of those operations that I talk about, they have targeted different shops that where intelligence has been given that a specific shop there are counterfeit things. However, again, like I'm saying, when you then go to that shop, of course you need to have the Namibian police, the brand holder. It's necessary for the brand holder because we do not work just on assumption. We work according to the guidelines provided by World Trade Organization, which says it's not even for the police or for the custom official to say this is a counterfeit. And here again, hear me out. If, let's say, this suit, okay, if someone produces exactly the same suit but with no name or whatever, and there is no, let's say maybe this suit, it's have a specific brand, Sam Shivute for example, but you produce it and it's not Sam Shivute written there, you have not misrepresented or counterfeited Sam Shivute, and it's cheap. That is different from when you say, when you have a specific brand and you are misrepresenting, saying this is that specific brand. You may also ask yourself, why am I not mentioning the brand and all those things? It's because in this context and the space in which we are working, we brand as well. That's why the brand holders. And when we carry out this operation, many people did not know that we were carrying out these operations. But because because the brand holder, they also do not want the world to know that their product are counterfeited, and also the issue of confidentiality. But again, as I say, some of those operations have been at all the other places. It's only that how we operate. When we take action against Nina or any other person, the law is very clear with regard to confidentiality. We do not go out there and say, we went to this specific shop. We went to this specific shop. But what I would want the Namibian to understand, the counterfeited goods in Namibia, they pose serious health hazards to the Namibian people, but also to the economy. I'll give an example. For example, you may have heard that in February 2021, the Grandpa tablets were pulled out of here because it was counterfeit. Right. I'm mentioning this because that is public information.
Right.
But that means now Namibia losing legitimate revenue when that tablet used to be imported legally. Do you get? When we allow these counterfeit goods to be in the market, I'm talking about, let's say for example, maybe there is a brand there like NamRA, and we allow someone to sell NamRA at a very cheap price. The original NamRA who have imported their product and they have paid customs duty and import VAT, now what will happen is that they will not be able to make business and they will be forced to retrench people. But apart from being forced to retrench people, that would also mean that they will not be able to contribute their fair share of taxes to the state. And what that will then mean, tomorrow we will then not have sufficient medication, oxygen, like when we needed oxygen. When we needed oxygen and vaccine in this country, this government of the Republic of Namibia, through the revenue that we collect through NamRA, that is what was used to pay for that oxygen. Yeah. That is the money that is being used to pay for the medication in the hospital, to pay the police officers so that they maintain law and order, to enjoy this peace and stability that we are enjoying, and to make sure the roads are maintained and the teachers are paid. I want us to understand this from a bigger context, that
we get the context, but we're running out of time, Mr. Shivute, and I just want to ask you very quickly, briefly, and the last question as well. You mentioned earlier that the vision, also part of NamRA's vision is to protect society. A lot of Namibians feel that with this confiscating and destroying of goods, a source of their livelihood was taken away, because this is their source of income, this is how they put bread on the table. So how does your actions then protect society? And secondly, what are the right channels that they should then follow to be able to bring in these goods, to be able to put bread on the table for their families? Okay.
The few Namibians that you are referring to, that they feel that their livelihood, that is based on misinformation, and that's why we are here. This is part of public education. Again, like we are saying, those goods, most of them were not imported by a man and a woman selling in the street and so on. But again, that is number one. But we are saying that part of goods that we confiscate, counterfeited goods as well. We're talking about pharmaceutical. I mean, we're talking about fake medication. Can you imagine if you have your family member, you go to State Katutura Hospital, but the medication that you are getting from a pharmacy is fake? Can you imagine drinking alcohol?
Did fake medication make up the majority of these goods that were now recently destroyed? Was that the majority of
the medication, we have decided not to do the destruction. That one, we delegate the destruction by Namibia Medicine Regulating Cancer, because they are the best one to do that. For this specific one, because sometimes alcohol is destroyed separately,
right.
Medication separately.
Right.
This time around, we are talking about cell phone accessories, your charger, your charger covers, clothing item, bags, and so on. But again, yes, again, as we are saying, when you have the laws, and these laws are aimed to protecting the Namibians, because when you allow this counterfeit good, which is internationally and nationally not allowed to come here, and it's the one that is now doing business where government is not getting customs duty, where there is no tax to be paid on those things as well, what will happen to our state hospital when they don't have medication? What will happen one day when we are not able to pay our police officer and they are not able to protect us? What will happen to this country when people are consuming? And again, if something was not produced according to standard, you do not know what health hazard that can give to those specific individuals. The Namibian people need to understand that we are here to protect the society. They must not just listen to misinformation and incitement, but we are ready to continue providing necessary information.
I hope they do indeed have that clarity this evening, Mr. Shivute. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you, Nina. Thank you for having us. All the best.
That was Mr. Sam Shivute, the Commissioner of NamRA's, speaking to us this evening. We're going to